You said the most effective way to intuitively evolve is to focus on spiritual development. And so I suppose in a way you sort of answered to that above, like is how we do it. But any more comments there? The most
Okay.
effective way to
Well,
intuitively evolve is to focus on spiritual development.
it means some part of every day in your life you need to put some time aside for spiritual development. So traditionally in religious communities, I'll put some time aside for prayer. In say Indian communities or around that area of the world, they meditate every day. So it's some time aside from the worldly stuff to remember the bigger picture, remember spirit. And if you look at it, in some parts of the world, they have five elements, not four: fire, earth, air, water, and spirit. And
Right.
and so that's a fundamental part of everything. So this is my goal. I want to achieve this. Spirit willing, I can achieve it. If it's not good for me, and that's the thing I'm always asking. So if I'm in meditation asking for something, I always say, if it's right for me spiritually. If it's not, I don't want to. I've got enough karma. I don't need any more. Thank you very much.
So what I was going to ask there is it talks about focusing on spiritual development. I was going to ask you for your interpretation of the word spiritual, but in there I heard you say concentrating on spirit.
Yeah,
And so or focusing
yeah,
on spirit. So it's we recognize, and like you say, with traditional religions, prayer to
yeah.
the higher spirit, listening to the spirit, yeah, and that's spiritual thing. Yeah.
And in a different book, My Secret Door book, there I did some study in London in 88, 91. 6 months I was there in 91 with this friend of mine, Christine. And she was explaining that in your life, she follows an Indian guru. So in your life, you have a living master. That's someone spiritually evolved who's responsible for hundreds of people to get them across, through this life. And then when you die, you have an ascended master. So they're the big ones: Jesus, Buddha, Moses, Muhammad, all of the bright lights that have gone through. And they're responsible for take you the rest of the journey. And so she said, if you're not focused on and you don't need to be visiting the guru that's living, you can do it in dreams at night. Yeah, they'll visit you, you'll visit them. And I was actually in meditation this morning, and because I have the same, she said, you've actually got the same living master as me, and that's why she taught me. And he was there waking me, saying, you need to do more, you need to focus more, you're not focusing enough, and the hint was at your age, like so you think, I better do my homework, or I might not wake up one morning, and it's too late. And but actually, the more you focus on spirit, the less the world troubles you. You get into a great blissful meditation, and Taris, what's that? That sort of thing. So all the chaos that's out there just isn't there. It's just you're in that stillness, the absolute stillness, and returning to that gets easier if you meditate in the same place. So if you have a specific place you like to meditate, you set up an energy cord in shaft of light in a way in that spot, and it's easier to do it. However, you got to make sure no one else sits in that space. If someone else meditates in that space, they can drop a lot of their negativity in your space, and then your next few meditations are not very good.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I hear you there. And so, yeah, so, and I guess, you're talking about there, like the things that go on this planet that bother us.
yeah,
When we don't focus on them, it just like 5 or 10 minutes or 20 minutes of meditation, focus elsewhere seems to really, I very much agree, seems to really give us hours of benefit. Like
yeah.
it's almost like it's concentrated, um, yeah, that 5 minutes will give us 15 or 30 minutes of bliss or, yeah.
Absolutely. And for people who struggle with meditation, lots of them do. There are people with a lot of physical passion and energy, vitality, often need to walk before they meditate, or make a walking meditation for themselves. Like that first kilometers just to get into the stride, the second 2 or 3, now I'm in the zone. But the simplest way I've found, you get into the ocean. You're absolutely present, especially if it's a cold sea. First thing you do, when the first wave hits you, and you're back in your body. You can't be drifting around, because if you're drifting around, you're dead. You know, you're
Yeah.
flotsam. And so and it's just that amazing thing. Like it's like a meditation. I remember face down in the ocean in the 80s and 90s around Sydney's coves. You're watching fish come in for dinner, and you're witnessing another world. You're just a visitor, and you just watch them come up, and they look at you, the stranger, like, what are you doing here? And off they go about their business, and you think it's just everything else is forgotten.